Discover the incredible moment. 8 years after divorce, she finds her billionaire ex on a life-changing night. The crisp autumn air wrapped around Mary Donovan like a warm hug as she stood in the heart of Pinewood Grove. Twinkling lights danced above her, casting a soft glow on the enthusiastic crowd gathered for the charity event. Anticipation thrummed in her chest. Sure, she was excited about revitalizing local businesses, but the thought of her ex-husband, Jake Bennett, was like a bitter aftertaste she couldn't shake. It had been 8 years since their stormy divorce, yet his memory lingered a whirlwind of love, heartbreak, and grandeur. "Mom!" Megan shouted, tugging on Mary's sleeve, pulling her back to the present moment. Mary looked down at her daughter's shining face, excitement palpable. "Can we go check out the bake sale?" "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, her heart swelling with pride. Mary had worked tirelessly to create a stable, loving home for her 2 children. They were her everything. But as she watched the joy on their faces, a familiar unease bubbled beneath the surface. Suddenly, the laughter of the crowd quieted, and all eyes turned. There he was, Jake, with his striking presence, clad in a tailored suit that screamed wealth. She felt the heat flush through her cheeks. He greeted everyone with that charming smile, and part of her was inexplicably drawn to it. The contrast was stark. She stood in her modest dress, a reminder of the life she had built, while he emanated raw power and allure. "Can you believe he's back?" whispered a woman near Mary, and she felt the spectators' whispers sting. All those years of hard work and sacrifice, yet here he was, effortlessly commanding attention. Depression coiled around her heart. Of course, he'd come to support the community. "Mommy, look." Sam tugged Mary out of her thoughts. But it was too late. Her mind stormed with awkward memories, dinner parties filled with glamour and laughter that turned to arguments behind closed doors. Just then, Jake turned, his eyes locking onto hers, and a dizzying rush of emotions clamored inside her. Mary he approached, feigning surprise, though she couldn't shake the feeling he'd come for a show rather than genuine support. "How are you?" "Busy, teaching," she replied tersely, measuring her words. It was difficult to ignore the contrast between their lives, the simple joys of parenting versus his extravagant lifestyle. But as he spoke, his charm lured the townsfolk in like moths to a flame. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." "Now let's continue, Jake," she said, voice steady as her heart raced. "You have all this wealth, but can you truly see the value in people? The people in this town? You're threatening my friend's diner with your plans. People need that place." A crackling tension filled the air. The truth hung between them, a poignant reminder of how far they'd fallen. Beneath their heated exchange lay longing, a flicker of that once familiar bond. But after 8 years, could they bridge the gap of their differences? As they stood toe to toe, the crowd faded away, leaving only the weight of their past and the uncertainty of their future. The stakes felt monumental. Was this the moment they could redefine their lives together? Or had time forged cracks too deep to mend? In the hush of that charged atmosphere, both Mary and Jake hung in limbo, hearts aching for clarity and connection, yet tethered by the reality of their choices. The silence between them cracked like a fragile glass as Mary held Jake's gaze, a mixture of anger and nostalgia swirling within her. The crowd around them had become a distant echo, a world removed from the real drama unfolding right here. "Do you even remember the community?" Her voice was a whisper, almost lost in the hum of the event, but the intensity of her words hung in the air. "Or have the high rises blinded you to the people who matter?" A flicker of surprise crossed Jake's face, gone almost as quickly as it appeared. "I do remember, Mary. But things are different now. We have to look ahead, not dwell on the past," he countered, his tone smooth yet defensive. "Look ahead?" She shook her head, heart pounding, each beat echoing her frustration. You mean bulldoze through everything in your path? People are losing their homes, their livelihoods. Megan S. and Sam S. happiness is still your priority after all these years, isn't it? His voice softened, betraying a hint of vulnerability that Mary hadn't considered. I've sacrificed everything for them, she shot back, a mix of anger and pain seeping into her words. And they're doing fine, without your wealth or that hollow charm you flaunt so easily. The tension simmered, their breaths shallow in the crisp air. She could hear the faint laughter from children playing nearby, the music softly strumming in the background, but it felt worlds away. All she could perceive was the man standing before her, the one who wants to find love, disappointment, and everything in between. Maybe they'd be better off if you allowed me to help, he offered, an edge of desperation creeping into his voice. Help? She felt the bitterness bubble in her throat. Your idea of help isn't what they need. It's not about money or influence, it's about real relationships. Understanding, not dominating. Jake's expression shifted, the flicker of annoyance clouding over with a hint of realization. That's what I'm trying to create, Mary. A foundation for growth, a way to bring prosperity. Prosperity for whom? Her eyes narrowed, and for a moment, they both stood caught in the past, the early days of their marriage where they had dreamt together, further down the road where those dreams had collided into a harsh reality. The emotional tension twisted in her stomach as she caught sight of the kids at the bake sale, laughing, giggling, while they piled cupcakes into their small hands. Their innocence filled Mary with a fleeting flicker of hope. Those kids don't care about skyscrapers, Jake, she stated softly, a hardened resolve igniting within her. They care about finding joy in simple things, their friends, birthday parties, and family dinners. They'll never find that in your plans. Maybe you're right, he said slowly, the weight of his revelation almost half-hearted. Yet the words hung between them, tentative but alive with possibility. Could he truly change? Was there room for compromise or a new beginning amidst the wreckage of their past? The moment hung thick, vibrating with tension and unresolved feelings, both of them knowing they stood at a crossroad. Just then, Megan and Sam reappeared, their faces alight with the remnants of joy. Mom! Can we get a picture with the bakery team? They chirped, blissful ignorance of the storm brewing nearby. Oh yes, that sounds great. Mary replied, forcing a smile while she felt the cracks below her surface. Let us make sure to include Jake, Megan said innocently, looking up at him with an open heart. Her words were an unexpected shift in the air, one that pulled Mary's attention back to the present. Jake met her gaze, a hint of vulnerability etched into his features, as if the truth hung in the balance between them. Could they coexist in this new normal that their children both wanted and deserved? With a camera poised to capture an image of something they couldn't yet name, Mary felt the flicker of hope. But could they truly navigate the mess of their past for the sake of their children? As the camera clicked, the smile on her face didn't quite reach her eyes, and she realized that this was just the beginning of a long, shaky journey between them. Uncertainty crept in, tightening around her heart. What would it take for them to move beyond whatever lay between them? And would their children help them discover it, or would it drive them further apart? Megan and Sam ran off to gather the bakery team, their laughter like a sweet melody lifting the heavy air between Mary and Jake. Mary forced herself to breathe, grounding herself in the reality of the moment. She shifted her gaze away from Jake, focusing instead on her children. Their joy felt like a balm against the emotional storm that had just raged between her and their father. As Megan approached a group of smiling bakers, Sam leaned close to Mary, tugging her lightly on the sleeve. Mom, do you think Jake will come to my baseball game next week? Mary hesitated, her heart sinking at the thought. I don't know, honey. We'll see. Please. He said he'd be there, Sam urged, his bright eyes failing to see the looming tension. Yeah, I'm sure he will, Jake chimed, stepping closer, his voice laced with a forced optimism that fell flat in Mary's ears. She felt heat rising in her cheeks as she faced him. You think you can just swoop in with your promises and everything will be fine? The bitterness smoldered within her, ignited by the memories of their past. She had once believed in his promises. The children wanted a father they could rely on, someone to cheer them on at games, yet the idea of Jake doing it felt like a gamble. Would he show? Would he care? "Mary," he said softly, "I'm trying. Can't you see that I want to be there for them?" The sincerity in his eyes cut through her anger, if only for a fleeting moment. She turned away, battling the turmoil in her heart. Wanting isn't the same as doing, Jake? You always say you want to help, but when it comes to actually being present, it's like you disappear. With a sigh, Jake ran a hand through his hair, a sign of agitation that felt all too familiar. "I know I've messed up. I'm trying to make things right. But if I can help them." Mary felt a wave of compassion ripple over her but resisted the urge to let it wash away her anger. "Help them how, Jake? By offering luxuries they don't need? By reminding them of what they don't have? Those things can bring happiness," he insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. "I can give them a better life." Mary stepped closer, her voice low but firm. "You think happiness comes fixed with a price tag? Love doesn't go on sale, Jake. They need you, your time, your presence." The sound of the camera clicking jolted her back to the present where Megan was nearby posing in front of the bakery team. A warmth curled in her chest as she watched the children. They were so full of life, insulated by their innocence, oblivious to the real struggles surrounding them. "Mom! Come on! Join us!" Megan yelled, a big grin stretched across her face. With a tight smile, she turned back to Jake. "For their sake, I hope you figure it out. Because if you can't, you'll break their hearts again." As she walked over to her children, each step felt heavier than the last. Mary managed to plaster a genuine smile on her face for the camera, but inside, doubts echoed louder than any laughter. Could Jake truly change? Was the foundation of their family strong enough to withstand the weight of their past? Just as Mary posed with the kids, a flicker of hope ignited again. This moment was significant, both heartbreaking and beautiful. But as the camera captured them, a shadow of doubt clung to her hope. Could they truly become the family their children yearned for, or was the chasm between them too wide to bridge? In that instant, Mary realized she couldn't remain passive. Something had to change, and soon. What if they had to confront more than just their differences to truly understand each other again? Would love, once lost, be enough to heal the wounds of their past? Megan and Sam bounced around the bakery, their laughter echoing off the walls. The sweet aroma of freshly baked pastries filled the air, wrapping around Mary like a comforting embrace. She wanted to soak in this moment, this fleeting joy, but her heart remained heavy, tethered to uncertainties that gnawed at her. It was hard to shake the conversation with Jake. She glanced back at him, standing a few steps away, deep in a conversation with one of the bakers. The way he animatedly talked, his hands moving as if trying to grab hold of those carefree moments, made her stomach twist. She remembered when they used to share such lightness, back when everything felt possible. But now? It was like they were touching the surface of a lake, but there was a deep, evident undercurrent pulling them apart. "Mom! You're missing it!" Sam yelled, his voice bright with excitement. Mary turned just in time to see Megan do a joyful spin for the camera, her hair flying in a halo of curls. It was a simple moment, but it squeezed Mary's heart. Would Jake ever truly be there for such moments? Would their children grow up remembering their father's absence more than his presence? "Let us take a picture together," Sam pleaded, tugging at her arm. Mary felt a flutter of joy surge up. This was her family, the beauty of being wrapped in laughter, held by the innocent hopes of her children. She knelt beside them, the warmth of their bodies radiating into her. They posed, beaming, and she forced a smile that barely masked her worries. "Say cheese!" the baker shouted, snapping the photo just as a flicker of hope sparked within her. Maybe this was what they needed, a focus on the love radiating between them. As the camera clicked, Mary's smile faltered slightly when she felt Jake's eyes on her. Was he feeling any of this? Did he see how vital it was for their children to know he was committed? She wanted to shout that love couldn't just be a word to toss around when it suited him. It was action, presence, sacrifice. As the laughter faded and the bakers began to disperse, Megan turned to Jake, her eyes wide with hope. "You'll come to my game, right? You promised." Mary held her breath, the air thick with anticipation. She watched Jake's face change. His smile wavered for just a moment. "Of course, I will," he said finally, but doubt dripped from his tone. The weight of that moment hung in the air, fragile like glass. She could almost feel her own heart cracking, echoing Sam's excited hope. Would their promises hold this time? Was she naive to think things could mend simply by being here? "It would mean a lot," Sam added, his need for a father palpable. "We'll even have snacks." Jake chuckled lightly, but Mary noticed his eyes drift to the side, as if he was already calculating an escape. A dread gnawed at her. What if he didn't show? What if their kids had to face disappointment again, like so many times before? "Jake," she called softly, a flicker of desperation leaking into her voice. "Can you really do this?" He looked directly into her eyes, and for a moment Mary thought she might see the determination she longed for. But it faltered, replaced by something else. Fear? Regret? "I'll try," he said, his voice low. Those two words fell like stones between them, heavy with uncertainty. Mary felt the sharp sting of tears, but she blinked them away, battling the surge of emotion. "Trying isn't good enough anymore. You need to commit. You need to show up not just for them, but for yourself too." Jake stared back at her, silence stretching between them, charged with everything left unspoken. Sam and Megan continued to bounce around, oblivious to the tension, their laughter unyielding and innocent, reminding Mary what was at stake. As Mary stepped back, glancing toward the bakery windows, a tightness gripped her chest. What would it take for Jake to understand? For him to finally realize that love is not just a promise tossed about but a choice made daily? Behind her, Megan and Sam pulled their father into their playful game, each movement echoing their simple and naive confidence that one day everything would be perfect again. But as Mary watched them, a thought lingered just beyond her reach. What if she had to be the one to take the first step toward true change? To confront the deeper fears that haunted not just Jake, but their entire family? Suddenly, the prospect of coming to terms with their past felt more pressing than ever. Can love really overcome the deepest wounds? Or was that hope just another illusion threading through the cracks of their broken hearts? Mary stood still, the vibrant colors and laughter around her fading into a soft buzz. The world outside the bakery felt distant, almost like she was watching a scene from a movie that had nothing to do with her real life. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the weight of her own thoughts pull her deeper into uncertainty. Jake was still playing along with Megan and Sam, his laughter ringing out, pretending everything was perfect. But Mary saw right through it. The way his eyes darted toward his phone every few seconds, the slight hesitation in his smile, it all told a different story. "Do you want to help me pick out a snack for the game?" she asked him, her voice a gentle nudge, hoping to draw him back into their reality. "Sure," he answered, but his gaze stayed glued to the ground, as if avoiding the heart of the matter hovering just above them. They wandered to the snack counter, the array of goodies before them sparkling like a false promise. As the kids debated over donuts versus cookies, Mary stole a sidelong glance at Jake. His brows were drawn tightly, lost in thought, and her heart sank even further. "Jake," she began, hesitantly, unsure whether to press forward or hold back. She took a breath, steeling herself. "I really need you to be there, not just for the kids but also for me. I can't keep pretending everything is fine." He turned to her, his expression unreadable. "What do you want me to say, Mary? That I'll just magically fix all this? That I can be the dad you want me to be?" The hurt in his voice made her flinch. "It's not about magic. It's about showing up. You can't just bounce in and out of their lives. They need you, and so do I." At that moment, Megan and Sam turned back, arms laden with snacks, their eyes shining with innocent happiness. "Look, Mom. Cookies!" Sam exclaimed, as if they'd just discovered gold. Mary plastered on a smile, but inside, she felt as if she were sitting on a cliff's edge, the wind ready to push her into uncertain waters. "Let us get the cookies," Jake said suddenly, his tone shifting, as if he was trying to drown out the echo of their conversation. He scooped up a few packs, piling them high in his arms. "I'll take care of this," he said, a little more cheerfully than necessary. As they made their way to the counter, a part of Mary wanted to reach out, to tug him back before he disappeared into the role of fun dad without any substance. But the moment passed, and instead, she felt the isolation seep in. The laughter masked a deeper silence growing like a crack in the ground between them. After settling the bill, they headed out of the bakery, sunlight pouring down like warm honey. Mary forced herself to focus on the day ahead, but the looming game pressed heavy on her mind. Would Jake truly come through for them? As thoughts tumbled in her heart, she spotted an old friend in the crowd, someone she once leaned on during better years. Their eyes met, and for a fleeting second, she felt a spark of encouragement, a reminder of who she could be when the burden lifted. "Megan. Sam. Can you go find a spot for us?" she directed, her voice infused with sudden urgency. They darted off, giggles trailing behind them. "Mary." The friend called out, catching up. "Hey, you okay? You look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders." Mary hesitated, torn between wanting to share and preserving what little strength she felt. But the need to spill her heart got the better of her. "Things with Jake, it's just complicated. I don't know if he'll commit to being a real father, you know?" Her friend nodded, understanding without judgment. "You deserve more than being kept in a hopeful waiting game." In that moment of vulnerability, a thought struck her hard. Am I ready to fight for what I want? That night, as the kids excitedly prepared for the game, the question loomed larger than life. Mary gazed at Jake, who was partially engrossed in his phone, seemingly worlds away. What if she needed to assert herself? To say the words that had been stuck in her throat for too long? In the swirl of uncertainty, one powerful realization hit her. What if confronting Jake wasn't just for the kids? What if it was the wake-up call she herself needed? As she steeled herself for what lay ahead, a new determination settled like warmth in her chest. What if love meant more than waiting for change to happen? The realization left her breathless. Was she ready to fight for her family, no matter what it took? And with that, the inner storm began to brew. Mary's heart raced as she watched Jake fiddling with his phone, seemingly unaware of the waves of tension crashing around them. She could feel the kids' excitement bubbling up as they chattered about their favorite players and snacks, but their joy only amplified her growing sense of urgency. "Jake," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "we need to talk, now." It was a directness she rarely used with him, but the moment demanded it. He glanced at her, eyebrows raised, caught off guard. When he didn't respond, she took a breath and pressed on. "I need you to put your phone down, just for a minute." Reluctantly, he pocketed the device, his eyes narrowing slightly. The laughter of the children dulled to a whisper as they looked between their parents, sensing the shift in the air. For a moment, the world around them faded again, and it was just the two of them, alone amid the chaos. "Mary, what's this about?" he asked, his voice taut. "It's about us," she began, her heart pounding. "About this whole situation. I can't keep waiting and hoping for things to change when it feels like we're both on different paths. You can't just pop in and out whenever it's convenient for you." His face hardened, the familiar defensive wall rising. "I'm here, aren't I? I'm trying. But trying isn't enough. Our kids deserve a father who is fully present, and I need a partner who can share this load," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "I can't keep pretending we're okay when everything between us feels broken. I need to know, are you in this? Really in this?" Jake's gaze dropped to the ground, and for a moment, silence hung heavy between them. Mary felt the tension murmur through her, that crack she had sensed before stretching wider. The kids were now watching intently, curiosity flickering in their eyes. That he finally looked up, but his demeanor was different. Vulnerability leaked through the cracks in his facade. "I don't know if I can be what you want, Mary. I feel stuck." She stepped closer, the distance between them shrinking. "Stuck or not, we need honesty. Whatever is holding you back, let me in. Let us work on this together." His mouth opened, then closed again. The struggle in his eyes was palpable, but at least he was engaging with her now. I just don't know how to fix things. What if fixing things isn't about magic or knowing all the answers? What if it's just about taking one step forward together? The question hung in the air, ripe with possibilities. Her heart thumped in her chest as she waited for a response. She wanted to reach for him, to bridge that gap in understanding, but she stayed rooted in place, unsure of the reaction she might provoke. Jake's face softened slightly. I think I want to try. But with all this pressure, I don't even know where to start. Mary nodded, hopeful yet wary. Just start by being honest with yourself and with me. That's all I ask. Before he could reply, the kids rushed back over, arms swinging, eyes gleaming. We found a perfect spot. Megan chirped, pulling Sam along with her. The moment's intensity was broken, but the energy lingered. Mary glanced at the kids, then back at Jake. In their innocent excitement, she felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps they could carve a path forward if they both dared to take that first shaky step into the unknown. As the family made their way toward the game, the atmosphere felt charged with potential. A quiet agreement hanging in the air, but in her heart, doubt gnawed at her. Was this just another moment of false hope? As they settled onto the bleachers and Jake cracked a smile at the kids, Mary contemplated the precarious nature of trust. Could she really count on him to take that step? And if he didn't? With those questions swirling inside her, the game began, but she felt herself slipping into a quiet reverie, the struggle within unresolved. And there, surrounded by the roar of cheering fans, a softer voice whispered in her ear, sometimes, the toughest battles are those fought within, and tomorrow, she might have to face Jake again, not just as a partner, but as a warrior for their family. What awaited her in that confrontation could change everything. The game kicked off, cheers erupting from the crowd like wildfire, but Mary felt trapped in a bubble, where the sounds around her faded into an indistinct hum. She watched the players sprinting across the field, their energy infectious. But inside, her heart still felt heavy. Jake was animated now, laughing with their kids, his easy charm back in full force. She could see how much they adored him, how they craved his attention. But it burned to witness the distance he kept from her. She remembered his earlier words, I don't know if I can be what you want. With the game in full swing, she forced herself to focus. The sun cast a golden glow over the field, illuminating Jake's face as he cheered for their son. A smile crept onto Mary's lips, but it felt like a double-edged sword. How much longer could they go on like this? The joy of their children couldn't mask the anxiety gnawing at her heart. Mom, look. Megan tugged gently at Mary's arm, her eyes wide with excitement. Did you see that play? Sam is, like, the best player. Mary glanced at her daughter, caught up in her enthusiasm. He really is. She replied, forcing a smile, trying to ground herself in the moment. Yet, the undercurrents of her conversation with Jake lingered like a shadow, darkening the sunny day. Can we get ice cream after the game? Sam's questions brought her back to the present, and she felt a surge of warmth. Their kids were the light of her life, and she wanted to believe in the possibilities ahead, a happy family, rich with love and laughter. She wished with all her heart that Jake could join her on that journey, no longer stuck in his own fog, but when the whistle blew, marking the end of the first half, Mary felt a wave of dread wash over her. The players huddled near the sidelines, while Jake turned to look at her. Their eyes met, and she saw a flicker of uncertainty mirrored in his expression. Can we talk? He asked, his voice dropping to a low murmur. Now? She asked, glancing at the kids immersed in their discussion about the game. Yeah, it'll just take a minute. The knot in her stomach tightened. She nodded, trying to hide her apprehension. As they moved a few steps away, she felt the world around her recede, the cheers and shouting suddenly muffled. It was just the two of them again, as if they stood in their little bubble. What's up? She asked, trying to keep her voice steady. I've been thinking about what you said earlier, Jake began, running a hand through his hair, an anxious habit. I want to make it work, but I'm scared, Mary. Scared of failing. I am too, she admitted, her eyes softening. But we can't keep dancing around this. We have to face it together or not at all. He nodded, his gaze dropping. I've been playing it safe, sticking my head in the sand. But I can't keep pretending. Then let us stop pretending, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. What would it look like if we really tried? What if we could reinvent this, together? He looked up, searching her eyes for something. One step at a time. Exactly, she replied, a flicker of hope igniting within her. Just then, a loud cheer erupted from the crowd as the team scored a goal, the buzz of excitement radiating through the air. But amidst the cheers, Mary's heart raced for a different reason. They were on the brink of something. She could feel it. As if they stood at the edge of a cliff, preparing to leap. Are we both in? Jake asked, his voice barely holding. Yes, she breathed, the word feeling like a promise, yet laden with weight. But as they stepped back to rejoin their children, the kids beaming with excitement, Mary felt a pang of uncertainty. What if the leap was too steep? What if they fell? In that moment, the possibility of a new beginning loomed like the shadow of a storm, threatening to drown out the light, and as Jake joined the kids, his face animated, she couldn't shake off the thought. Would their leap toward connection lead to liberation or heartbreak? Tomorrow loomed large. Would she summon her courage once more for the battle ahead? Mary watched as Jake immersed himself back into the cheerful chaos with their children. Sam was recounting his favorite moments from the game, while Megan clapped her hands excitedly, urging him to replay the most thrilling parts in her mind. The laughter and joy radiating from them made Mary feel both comforted and restless. She longed to join in, to feel a part of their fun, yet the conversation with Jake lingered like a haunting melody she couldn't quite shake off. As the crowd began discussing the next half, Mary dared to hope that perhaps they were indeed stepping into a new chapter. Yet, doubt wormed its way into her thoughts. What if this moment was just a fleeting distraction? She couldn't bear the thought of Jake slipping away again. He was here now, but where would he be tomorrow? Or in a week? Mom, come on. Sam called, breaking through her reverie. He waved his hands, pulling her back into the family circle. The excitement in his voice tugged at her heart. You have to see this. With a smile, she stepped forward, forcing herself to engage in the moment. But even as she clapped for their son, the unease tightened its grip. Could this really be the moment they would look back on as the turning point? The second half of the game commenced, and Mary found her gaze drifting over to Jake. He was animated enough to light up a dark room, but as the minutes ticked by, she noticed that the light in his eyes didn't reach her anymore. It felt as if an invisible wall had been built between them. She wanted to ask him what he was thinking, to explore the uneasy ground ahead, but the kids were too captivated by the game to notice her turmoil. Megan leaned against her and whispered, "Are they going to win, Mom?" Her innocence cut through Mary like a knife. It reminded her of how much hope was tied to these days, and how easily it could all become fragile. "I think they will." Mary responded, a cheerful lilt in her voice that she hoped would veil the fear creeping in. As the game progressed, the thrill in the air was palpable. The triumphant shouts of the crowd echoed, blending with the rhythmic beating of her heart. But with every cheer, a part of her felt heavier. Would they really be okay? They had so much to rebuild. And Jake's earlier hesitance nagged at her, a reminder of the mountain they needed to climb. Finally, to her surprise, during a break in the action, Jake turned towards her, catching her eye. There was a moment the world around them slowed, and for the first time that day, they held each other's gaze unflinchingly. It felt like a silent pact, understanding signaling their willingness to change to try, but just then, with a sudden eruption, the opposing team scored, sending shockwaves through the stands. The crowd erupted in disappointed groans, and the kids hollered in frustration. The moment faded, stolen away by the unforgiving reality of a game that demanded all attention. "Let us go, Sam. Come on, we have to cheer them on," Jake shouted, breaking the intensity of their connection. He dashed back to the children, and Mary could only smile faintly, feeling the warmth of hope flicker amidst her growing doubts. As the game surged into its last minutes, Mary felt an urgency swell inside her. She couldn't wait for tomorrow to speak her mind again. But with the kids surrounding them, how could she introduce the truths they needed to tackle? The time for serious conversations wasn't now, but the clock was ticking. After the final whistle blew, declaring the game over with a cheer and defeat, Mary's heart raced. They'd come together for the kids, but the world that lay ahead still felt uncertain. As they gathered their things, a bold decision formed in her mind. Perhaps she would reach for that conversation tonight, at dinner. After all, real connections weren't built on flimsy foundations, and just as they were about to leave, an unexpected figure appeared nearby, capturing her attention. A woman with striking familiarity. Mary's chest tightened. Who was she? Why did it feel like a reckoning? Was this woman a sign, a threat, or just mere coincidence? The tension wrapped around Mary as she locked eyes with Jake once more, wondering if tonight was truly the night everything could change. Mary's heart thudded in her chest as the woman's presence loomed closer. She looked so familiar, yet the fleeting memories were just out of reach. A blonde with confident strides, her eyes scanning the crowd, and then locking onto Mary. Those eyes held a knowing glimmer that sent a shiver down Mary's spine. Is that? Sam's little voice broke through the fog, pulling her focus back to the children. She turned just in time to see Jake's expression shift, a flicker of recognition painting his features. He frowned, brow furrowing as he readied himself to confront whatever wave of history was about to crash down on them. Mom? Who is she? Megan asked, her innocent curiosity trailing off as she sensed the tension in the air. I don't know, honey, Mary managed, trying to sound casual even as the knot of anxiety tightened in her stomach. She felt like she was caught in a flood of emotions, struggling to keep her head above water. The woman strolled toward them, unbothered by the chaos, her heels clicking against the asphalt like a countdown. Mary noticed Jake's jaw tightening, a subtle sign that whatever this was, it stirred something deeper within him. Jake, the woman said, her voice smooth and inviting. It's been so long. The way she said his name felt almost intimate, and Mary's fingers instinctively clutched the fabric of her shirt, grounding herself as everything inside her screamed for air. Claire, Jake replied, his voice tight, eyes narrowing but still betraying a mix of surprise and unease. Mary felt a heat wash over her. How did he know her? Who was this woman that had such a claim on Jake's past? The questions raced in her mind, each more furious than the last. Are you back in town for a while? Claire asked, her smile bright but edged with something Mary couldn't decode. Was she genuinely happy to see him, or was there more beneath the surface? Yeah, just visiting, Jake replied, his stance shifting, as though preparing for a battle he didn't want to engage in. Mary wanted to scream, to ask if this woman had any idea how hard they had fought to get where they were now. They were in the middle of rebuilding, and suddenly everything felt precarious, threatened by this familiar face. Megan, Sam, let us grab a snack. Mary suggested, her voice strained. She glanced at Jake, searching for reassurance but finding only the rippling tension of unresolved history. Wait, Mary, Jake said, his tone urgent as he noticed her retreating. Let us not. It's fine, Jake. Just let us go. Her words came out sharper than she intended, and the kids hurried along, oblivious to the undercurrents swirling around them. As they walked away, the kids' chatter faded into the background. Mary felt the heat of Jake's gaze on her, pleading, and she didn't know why it felt like everything was suddenly spinning. Did she trust him enough to face this head-on? Did she even want to? At that moment, as she turned back to look one more time, she saw Claire laugh a laugh that rang out, bright and unbothered. It stung. What was this woman's intention? And more importantly, how deep did Jake's history with her go? Later that evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, a new weight settled over everything. The meal felt heavy, filled with unspoken words and fears. As the kids indulged in animated conversation, Mary's heart raced. Do I bring Claire up? Jake caught her eye again, his expression unreadable, but as the moment stretched, a realization hit her. Silence wouldn't resolve this, and neither would she bury her feelings. Jake, she said, voice trembling slightly, we need to talk about what just happened. He nodded, but his face tightened, bracing for the dive into uncertain waters. The conversation that followed would either mend the rift between them or expose deeper fractures they had yet to confront. But just as she opened her mouth to continue, the buzz of her phone interrupted. It was an unknown number, but something about it felt significant. What kind of twist would this bring to their already tangled lives? As Mary stared at the phone ringing in front of her, tension mounted. This was no ordinary call. It felt like the universe was about to drop another bombshell into her already shifting world. She hesitated, fingers hovering over the screen. Should she answer? What if it was an emergency? The kids were clattering around, oblivious to the storm threatening to unleash not just in her heart, but in her relationship with Jake. "Mom, are we getting ice cream?" Sam chimed with excitement, tugging at her sleeve while Megan nodded fervently beside him, eyes sparkling as if ice cream alone could solve everything. Yeah, just a second," Mary said distractedly, her heart torn. But behind her, she felt Jake's perceptive gaze. Was he reading her conflict? Mary took a deep breath, accepting the call. "Hello? Mary?" "It's Claire," came the smooth voice from the other end, sending a jolt through her. Of course it would be Claire. Tension hung in the air thick enough to cut. "Claire," Mary said slowly. "What do you want?" There was a brief pause. "I just wanted to clarify something about Jake's visit. I hope it won't affect your plans." "I'm not sure what you mean by affect," Mary replied shortly. "We're in the middle of something important here." Claire chuckled softly. "You see, I never intend to stir up trouble. I'm here for a purpose. But I'd hate for you to feel blindsided." Mary caught Jake's eye, a silent exchange bubbling with unexpressed worries. What purpose did Claire refer to? Had Jake's history with her not just been a whisper but a tempest? "This isn't about you. It's about Jake and his children. Maybe you should reconsider your presence here," she fought the urge to shout. "Think of it as a reminder that our pasts have a way of making waves. I just don't want my connection to him to hinder you both. Or worse, mislead the kids." The words flowed coolly but contained a hidden edge. "No, it's fine," Mary replied, her voice steely. "I'll handle it." Breath hitching in her throat, she ended the call, feeling winded. Hands shaking, she glanced up at Jake. His brows were knitted together, confusion mixed with guilt reflecting in his eyes. What did she say? "Nothing worth hearing," she snapped, the remnants of their earlier conversation way too volatile to restart. "Mary, come on. You can't brush this aside like it's nothing." Their surroundings faded, the vibrant sounds of children laughing dulled as their focus zeroed in on each other. "It feels like you have a lot to explain," she replied slowly, piercing his gaze as doubt mingled with resentment. "Let us just enjoy dinner," he replied, but she noted the flash of his defensiveness, the guardedness that had become all too familiar. With Sam and Megan animatedly diving into their meals, Mary felt like a parent caught in a storm, trapped in two clashing worlds. Taking a deep breath, she leaned forward, desperation tinged with hope flooding her chest. "Jake, we need to be real with each other. No more hiding, we are either going to pull this together or face it head-on." He looked pained, yet a flicker of understanding passed over his features. "I know. I was going to tell you over the weekend. When we're settled, I'll explain everything." Mary's heart raced as she surveyed their kids' faces, innocence roiling under the fractured surface of their adult realities. Jake, they deserve a life without shadows and confusion. I'm not willing to let this continue like this. No more half-truths. Okay, he finally nodded, clearly still wrestling with something beneath the surface. Just promise me you won't jump to conclusions without the full picture. Deal. But right now, I need to know, are you in this with me, or are you still caught up in the past? She pressed, her tone fierce yet raw with vulnerability. Yes, he whispered, finally meeting her gaze full on. I want to be all in. Just let me be the dad they deserve. Hope surged in Mary. They were navigating uncharted waters, but maybe just maybe they could steer clear of the looming dangers ahead. Just as Sam laughed loudly at a joke Megan made, the phone buzzed again on the table. It was another unknown number. Mary exchanged a worried glance with Jake, and for once, he didn't seem annoyed. Instead, she noticed concern etching his face. What if it's worth answering? He urged, the tension between them almost crackling with electricity as the kids continued bickering over who would get the biggest ice cream cone. Taking the plunge, Mary reached for her phone, heart pounding with the weight of destiny. Almost on cue, she felt her world tilt. Never had she imagined that this call could unravel truths or weave connections or potentially sever them for good. As she accepted the incoming call, the lines of their fates intertwined more than ever. Hello? She answered, bracing for impact. What if you need to wake up to the truth? Whispered a voice, clear and startlingly familiar. Mary's breath caught in her throat. As the earth shifted beneath her, uncertainty morphed into fear. Suddenly, everything was at stake: her family, her future, her hope for forgiveness. Today was supposed to be about rebuilding. But these echoes hinted at a past so tumultuous it could drown them all. The faces of her children shone brightly before her, so full of hope, and yet, Mary could feel the cold fingers of doubt creeping in. Would their dreams survive this new storm? Maybe it's time to see what commitments really mean, she whispered back and hung up, determination flooding her veins. Jake's hand slipped over hers, the warmth encouraging. Together, they would dive into whatever revelations awaited. She would not only fight for her family, but she would embrace the possibility of new beginnings. Tomorrow would reveal everything. Mary's heart steadied. They would face the past with open hearts, and for the first time, there would be no holding back. And as they concluded dinner, she finally felt the fog raising. She wasn't just prepared to fight for her family, she was ready to transform them. She squeezed Jake's hand a little harder, feeling hope bloom. Together, they would forge a new path, not just for them, but for their eager children, witnessing the echoes of love mixed with the truth. Together, they could make it if they embraced the unexpected. Their journey was just at the beginning, and tomorrow was the dawn of everything. Now was the moment to unlock every door and see what lay behind. So let us put one foot in front of the other, Mary thought, a smile breaking across her face in the midst of uncertainty. It's time. If you've enjoyed this incredible journey, you need to subscribe to our channel now. Don't wait not even one more second to share this story with at least 5 friends who need to see how transformation begins. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm. And don't forget to comment your thoughts and feelings about this emotional ending. Your reactions matter. This is the moment to make sure you're part of our story.